in Phoenix and Mesa.
Good evening. I'm political editor Dennis Welch, and this is Politics Unplugged. And tonight we are talking clean energy. A proposed ballot measure could push Arizona to the front of the pack when it comes to solar and wind power. That measure would require Arizona's public utilities to get half of their power from renewable resources in just 12 years. And joining us now to talk about this issue is former State Senator Sue Gerard. Thank you very much for being here. Now, according to the Department of Energy, the U.S. as a whole gets about 10% of its power from renewable sources. Some states do much better than that. Others, according to the report, Oregon was the top state, getting 49% of its energy renewable sources. According to your figures, Arizona gets about 12% from renewable sources. How do you believe we could jump from 12 to 50 in just a decade?
Because the technology is available today to do it. There's experience with other utilities moving forward. Colorado's even shown that it costs less to produce clean energy than it does using fossil fuels. So it's ready to go. And it also doesn't require the same kind of building and capital expense of building a power plant or a nuclear power plant takes. So it's easier. It can be done.
So why are we going to the ballot on this? How come this isn't something that the governor's office, the state legislature has been working on to expand the use of these renewable energies?
Because they haven't done it. And plus, if they just do it,
well, why wouldn't they do that?
They can put. I don't know. I guess you'll have to have someone else come on, but to talk about that, it would be. I mean, they took action in 2006, 2007 to go to the 15%, and that's it.
Now, it would seem that Arizona is natural for renewable energy. Obviously, we get a lot of sun here.
Yes, yes.
But in fact, none of the top 10 states we're talking about using renewable resources actually use solar and wind. And in Oregon, it's hydroelectric. In Washington, biomass fuels. North Dakota, it's wind. So it seems you have a double challenge here of pushing the solar up in the ranks in terms of renewables, and then pushing Arizona up in actual usage. Now, is that really achievable?
Yes. Yes, it is, and it just makes sense for a state like Arizona that has so much sunshine that we should be the leaders in solar.
And why doesn't nuclear power factor into this equation right now? Obviously, we've got one of the biggest plants here in the country, just right here in the valley.
Well, there are health issues. There's accident issues that are different than they'd be with any other kind of fuel. It's not really a renewable fuel because you spend the uranium. But the big thing is it might burn clean because it's not a carbon base, but it still has health implications causing cancer for workers and whatnot.
Yeah, I was going to say, too, then you have really tied this to a public health issue here.
Yes.
And explain a little bit more about that, why you see it that way.
Well, my background is public health.
Sure.
That's what my passion is, and that's why I'm very interested in this. But we know that we've got very dirty air here. We all know that because of the way we have to, the different kind of gas we have to have, the particulates. It's part of every news show, what the particulates are, what the ozone level is. And getting away from the fossil fuels can really improve our air.
Okay, now, unlike many initiatives, this is not simply a mandate on the state. This would require public utilities, including APS and Tucson Electric Power, to meet these goals. So citizens, no matter how well-intended, they're going to be making these decisions. Now, if something is put on the ballot, it's going to be really hard for lawmakers to change things. What if there are some unintended consequences of this passes? Is there any wiggle room here to make changes in this policy?
I think the people that have done the research and put together this proposal have thought of all those possible issues. You also have the ability for the Corporation Commission, they have to do the rules for implementation, so if there needs to be adjustments, they're going to have some wiggle room at that level.
Okay, and citizens too, when they make this decision, they're forcing corporations, other big businesses out there. Now, opponents say you could be forcing these companies into making expensive investments that will ultimately be paid for by customers paying for more electricity here.
Yeah, and you also have to remember they are a monopoly. Therefore, they have to follow more rules. and I really do not believe, and the experience is showing, the cost of the technology is dropping. big utility in Colorado is actually now having, it's cheaper for them to build power plants. It's cheaper for them to, what they're charging people for electricity. So it can be done here. They just have to change their business model.
So I guess the bottom line is a lot of viewers watching this, are they going to end up paying more if this passes? And you can guarantee
they will
that.
Not. I will personally, yes. No, I will. There's no question. If you look at the research and, maybe at another time and during the next few months, people will learn more about what is going to be available and how it all works. And I think you'll be really excited about the possibilities. All right. Now, some of our neighboring states are also looking to increase use of renewables. Here's a quick look. California, 50% by 2030. Nevada, 25% by 2025. Colorado, 30% by 2020. New Mexico, 20% by 2020. And Utah, a voluntary goal of 20% by 2020. So this initiative would track California's goal. But that is a state with more money, more resources, and more people. They have more options for wind power off the coast, more major waterways, and lots of sun. Again, can this really be, can we really beat these goals? Yes. Yes, we can. But in our short time here, we really can't go into the kind of details that I think you're looking for. All right. Well, thanks a lot. That's all the time we have now for this segment. Thanks for stopping by and talking a little bit about this. But we still have lots more to come here on Politics Unplugged. Major allegations that has some calling for Steve Montenegro to get out of the race for Congressional District 8 just days before the election.
Having Kathy Herod, as head of the Center for Arizona Policy, say either prove these allegations are not correct or step aside.
Mr. Montenegro has touted family values. Now a powerful voice in the Christian conservative movement says he needs to prove allegations about sexually provocative texts are false. And from ending a sales tax to giving parents a tax holiday, a look at how lawmakers are looking to stretch education dollars, next on Politics Unplugged.
Original content you won't get anywhere else.
They didn't do a thorough investigation
on the issues impacting the lives of Arizona families.
Is that the #1 reason you see so many teachers leaving?
3TV Originals, only on 3TV News at 9. Great weekend start with Jamie Serretta, only on 3TV.
I was dreaming about a new job, a different apartment, then bam!
If you've been in a car accident, chances are you're in pain. Doctors and staff at Emergency Chiropractic are dedicated to getting you well. Appointments are available 7 days a week and will treat you with no deductibles, no co-pays, and no out-of-pocket costs. Don't let an auto accident destroy your dreams. Call Emergency Chiropractic today.
Emergency Chiropractic, the kind of care you want today.
Buckle up.
Attention Invocana users. If you or a loved one was taking Invocana and had your leg, foot, or toes amputated, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Get a local Invocana attorney today. Call the law offices of Lerner and Rowe.
Call 977-1900.
When you need to buy a car, but it's credit you lack, what you really need is someone who will cut you some slack, put you in the right direction, get your life on track. We've got your back. GoSeeJack.com.
The new car dealerships kept telling me no, but GoSeeJack.com made it super easy. I got approved for a great deal in minutes.
I didn't think I'd ever get the car I wanted, but I went to GoSeeJack.com, and now it's all mine.
Hope is just a click away. Come get the facts at GoSeeJack.com.
How do you want to live? As a decent person? Good husband? Is that it? Good? Of course not. King of the hill? Better. Top of your game? Win. All powerful. Like a boss. Like a pro. We couldn't agree more. We are professional grade. Step up to GMC with $10,000 total value on a specially equipped 2018 Sierra SLT Crew Cab model when you finance through GM Financial. See your Valley GMC dealers.
And welcome back to Politics Unplugged. We are moving on to education, and with us today is State Senator Kate Brophy McGee, who is working to keep a major source of funding for schools going. thank you very much for being here with us today. Now, we're talking about the extension of Proposition 301. It was passed back in 2000. It's a 0.6% sales tax. Now, that, again, was approved by the voters in 2000, but you don't want to go through the voters this time. You're trying to do this yourself. You're trying to actually govern and govern the old-fashioned way when it comes to a tax and actually pass something down at the legislature, correct?
Correct. There is a bill in the House sponsored by Representative Doug Coleman, which, with 2/3 a vote in the House and 2/3 of a vote in the Senate, will extend the sales tax. The bill made it through the Education Committee on a nearly unanimous vote, bipartisan vote, and the amendment that went on added 8 years extension and kept the tax in place as is.
Okay, well, why is this, though? I mean, you know, why is this not just kind of keeping the status quo? Why not add a little bit more to this tax? We've seen a lot of issues with education. We've seen a teaching shortage. Teacher pay is an issue. Infrastructure. We've had schools that have been closed down because there were structural safety issues there. Why not, you know, put more money into this and increase that tax?
My immediate interest, as is Representative Coleman's, is to eliminate the cliff of Prop 301 funding. There are already school districts, community colleges and universities who benefit from this fund who are beginning the phase out. It's the responsible accounting thing to do, and if we put the fund back in place for a period of years, we can ensure that that cliff goes away and what's there now stays there while we figure this out.
So tell our viewers right now, how much money are we talking about? If this was the phase out, how much money would schools be cut?
Approximately $643 million.
And this is every year.
Yes.
And so, okay. So do you think there's a 2/3 majority vote, because that's what would be required in the legislature to pass a tax increase? Do you think the political will is there to pass this year? And will the governor sign it?
There is an amazing amount of bipartisan political will. Mr. Coleman's bill, which I mirrored in the Senate and got signatures on, received 57 sponsors. It would have received more. We ran out of time to gather signatures before the deadline to drop. Currently, there is a signed request on the part of 20 Republican lawmakers in the House asking that the bill be released to the rules and move forward. The Democrats are 100% behind this. We can do this with no additional cost to taxpayers.
So let me clear here. People are signing to get this to rules. Is this being held at some point?
Initially, Mr. Coleman's bill was assigned to both education, which it came out of, and Ways and Means. The Ways and Means chairman released the bill. The fight now is to get it onto a rules calendar and get it to the floor for a vote.
So why are you being told that it's not being heard in rules? Usually that's just a pretty standard thing. It gets out of committee, it goes to rules, and it goes, you know, usually flies through there, and then it goes to the rest of the process.
Well, while the Ways and Means chairman has released the bill, it still needs to be formally read out of that committee and assigned to rules on the floor. That action has not occurred. I anticipate or hope that it would occur in this next week.
And what have you been told as to why it hasn't occurred so far?
We are in this week and this next week are called crossover week. So we're in process of reading bills out of the House and out of the Senate. So it's quite possible that it's going to get caught up in that.
Okay, and let's talk a little bit about the governor. The governor said he's not going to sign a tax increase. This wouldn't be a tax increase, but it would be a continuation of a tax. The governor going to sign this? Have you had any conversations with his staff?
I have not.
Okay. I mean, wouldn't you see that that might be something you wanted to do, considering he's going to be the one that's going to be signing this?
My focus at this point, as has been Representative Coleman's, is legislative grassroots. Conversations amongst the members about the validity of this issue, whether this is something we want to do as lawmakers. At this point, we've not involved the governor's office. I am amazed and gratified by the bipartisan support this bill is receiving.
Okay, great. Let's move on. Let's talk a little bit more about some broader issues when it comes to education. Other lawmakers looking at ways to get more money into education or save money. Representative Todd Clodfelter introduced a bill which would establish a tax holiday for purchase of school supplies for children, parents, and guardians. You think this is something that they'll likely get through the legislature? Do you think this is something to be a good idea?
I think what needs to happen now, in conjunction with the extension of Prop 301, is a much broader conversation about what the new Prop 301 looks like and what education funding in this state looks like in general. and that needs to be a broad public conversation. We can look at issues like Representative Clodfelter's bill and others, but I think we need to identify sustainable, ongoing sources of funding like Prop 301 for K-12 education.
Let's go back to your bill then real quick, because if I remember correctly, there are some provisions in there that you would put more money into the pocket, into the paychecks of teachers, correct?
Correct. The voter protection for Prop 301 expires in 2021, and the bill that is in the House and still active and alive would extend that 8 years. So what we did, and we amended the buckets of Prop 301 in that bill to show the kinds of conversations we can have, and we dedicated the entirety of the Classroom Site Fund to the base salaries of teachers.
Okay. Now, have you done any analysis of this? How much more money would be going to an average teacher's paycheck?
The difference would be about 98 to 99% of the Classroom Site Fund currently goes to teachers, but it goes to them in the form of bonuses. It doesn't go in the base. So our argument is, let's put it in the base, and that elevates that goes then into elevating our teacher salaries. It's simply an example of what can be done with those Prop 301 buckets if we sit down and have that conversation.
Okay, and just a final question. You said that you know, this should be heard in rules here pretty quickly. When do you expect to see this go for a vote?
My anticipation and hope is that it gets assigned to withdrawn formally from Ways and Means and assigned to rules this next week. That is a decision of the speakers, and given the broad support of both caucuses for this proposal, I am hoping that that's what happens.
All right. Well,
but I have no guarantees.
All right. Well, thanks a lot to stop by and talk to us about this issue. But I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more about this as the year progresses. But we do have lots more to come on Politics Unplugged. Just ahead, a bombshell that could change the race for District 8, and a bill that could mean some big changes for medical marijuana. It's an idea to make it safer, but a last minute nearly sent the whole idea up in smoke. More on that just ahead on Politics Unplugged.
Take the gold with record-breaking deals on new flooring. Huge savings up to 66%. Pay no interest till 2020. And we'll even move your furniture for free. Finish a winner by calling Express Flooring. Go USA! Go USA!
I've got 4 new deals so delicious the other guys can't compete. I can't say their names, but let's just say they rhyme with Schmendy's, Schmcdonald's, and Schmurger King. Introducing Value Jack's Way. Treat yourself to 4 great ways to save. Get a massive monster taco for $1, 2 crispy chicken nugget sliders for just $2, a savory breakfast biscuit combo for $3, and my fish sandwich combo for only $4. At Jack in the Box, it's all about big value, small prices. Try Value Jack's Way today.
Del Sol Furniture's grand opening sale continues at 35th Avenue and Bell Road. We're celebrating by giving you up to 50% off store-wide at all locations, plus up to 24 months no interest. Find incredible deals. Sofas from $2.99, queen beds for only $1.99. Just $2.99 for this beautiful dining set. It's Del Sol's Furniture's grand opening sale, going on now at 35th Avenue and Bell Road. Del Sol Furniture's grand opening sale.
This is a can't-miss truck event. Get to Nissan now for big President's Day savings on Titan and Armada. Both with a round view monitor that lines you up easily. Plus, Titan's backed by America's best truck warranty. The technology of tomorrow, available today. Save big on Nissan trucks now. It's time for an upgrade. Hurry into the Nissan Now sales event for exclusive President's Day offers. Get up to $10,323 off MSRP on the 2017 Titan. Now as low as $19,257.
Attention Invocana users. If you or a loved one was taking Invocana and had your leg, foot, or toes amputated, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Get a local Invocana attorney today. Call the law offices of Lerner and Rowe.
Call 977-1900.
Eager to get your tax refund? Stop waiting. Come on down to Sullivan Motors and we'll do your taxes for you and match your refund dollar for dollar. Oh, you heard it right. We'll match your tax refund dollar for dollar. With over 650 vehicles to choose from, we've got something for everyone. Cars, trucks, Jeeps, SUVs, and more. What other dealership will double your down payment? Only Sullivan Motors. Double your tax refund and drive off in your new vehicle today. Sullivan Motors, 1515 West Broadway in Mesa. 1515 West Broadway in Mesa.
back to Politics Unplugged. It's now time to talk it out with our partners from First Strategic, and let's just dive right into the story making all the headlines right now. We're talking about the Congressional District 8 race, where it seems to be has been taken over by allegations of naked pictures, racy text messages, money laundering schemes. Now, give us a breakdown on. Let's talk a little bit about Montenegro. He admitted that he did receive a naked picture from a Senate staffer while he was still in the Senate, but he's saying, I didn't ask for it.
Sure, and you know what? First of all, it's important to talk about this. You know, the Capitol community has known about this story breaking for roughly 2 weeks. And, you know, I think some credit's due to a lot of reporters who held off on this story. You know, Yvonne Wingett from the Republic and other TV stations who held off waiting for more facts to come out in this case, that they weren't comfortable with what was presented as hard evidence. And credit to them for holding off. But that being said, you know, listening to Tom Ryan's press conference yesterday, it seemed pretty clear that he was on an attack on Montenegro for this. I think that there is a lot of evidence that still needs to be come out in this case.
Now, Tom Ryan, he is the attorney that is representing this young woman who works over at the State Senate, who had engaged in these flirtatious text messages, who had sent Mr. Montenegro this naked picture. Now, the reason this is a big deal is because Mr. Montenegro has couched and touted himself as the family values candidate. Right. He is a minister of a church. So now you have a Christian conservative leader here in the state like Kathy Herod basically calling him to get out of the race unless, you know, he can prove the allegations against him are false. I mean, you think anything that we saw over the past few days here with Tom Ryan, the press conference, the release of the more text messages, is anything going to change your mind?
I think you have a political dumpster fire going on. And yesterday there were two losers, Dennis. That was Steve Montenegro and also Tom Ryan. Tom Ryan made the classic error of trying to make himself the story, become judge and jury. And he actually came across, in my opinion, as offensive. And he may have left the sliver open for those who believe in conspiracies about people being set up. He should have just shut his pike and just handed out the material.
Well, let's listen to a soundbite from Tom Ryan. We got that queued up right now. We'll listen to it and get your reaction on the other side.
He was grooming her for a sexual relationship in the way that he was texting her and communicating with her.
Your thoughts on that? I mean, he's saying that he was grooming her because it's important. It's important to point out that this relationship was never sexual in nature. That you know that's really key to point out here. But there, you know, even Montenegro admitted that yes, he got to got a little bit too personal. He did receive that picture, that naked picture, but he wasn't soliciting it.
Right, wasn't soliciting it. But what's interesting here is proof that Tom Ryan is partisan in this attack is his word of grooming. And when you comb through his evidence that he presented yesterday, which was a 2-inch stack of paper of the text messages, it's full of grocery lists. I like to run. Here's my choice in music. He's trying to use a narrative that I don't think is necessarily true. Were they involved in a inappropriate relationship? And my word is inappropriate. It's different than a lot of people, but I would say yes, absolutely. But his attack is a little bit out of bounds, and what he fails to say in this clip is that the ex-boyfriend and the woman who sent these photos both went to his office, and now the ex-boyfriend is the one who leaked the photos. And this is an example.
He's not the arbitrator of what is moral.
It's an example of there's more to this story than
he created a problem. He, in my opinion, made himself look like a fool.
Yeah, but let's get back to Montenegro here. I mean, he is the story as well. You know, he is, again, the family values candidate. He's touting himself as the ethical, responsible family guy, the minister. Now, that he does not come off looking good in this situation.
And the texts alone will let voters come to a determination of what was right or wrong. Well, in these not a lawyer telling them from some pompous plateau that he is the arbiter of what is moral and not moral.
I think your question is Steve Montenegro going to lose? And the answer is yes, and has it been, you know, that's not debatable for us. But the point is that he was done as soon as Kathy Herod sent out her text, as soon as Governor Brewer sent out her text, Senator Karen Fann, Kate Brophy McGee, as soon as all these people lined up and said get out of the race, he was done. That's not the point. Our point is that there is more to this story than meets the eye, and I think that Tom Ryan did a disservice when he was trying to attack Montenegro, he opened the door for a lot of questions that have yet to be answered on behalf of his clients, frankly.
But he's not the only one now taking on water here in this campaign. Now, Debbie Lesko's been, and her campaign is now under assault from Phil Lovis, who's also in this race. Now, the Lovis camp is saying she broke the law when she illegally, in their words, transferred $50,000 from an old Senate account into to an independent group. Now, state laws, election law says you can't coordinate between campaigns and independent expenditures, but you can't.
Keyword.
Yeah.
And that will be decided long after the race is over. I understand the politics of the throwing that gas back and forth.
Sure.
Campaign finance stories, quite frankly, are not that appealing to voters. They get overwhelmed with them every cycle, from my perspective. But the biggest thing is that coordination, as you mentioned, Dennis, that has to be what is proven occurred.
And there was a similar accusation, if you remember, during the Tom Horn campaign, and they couldn't prove that coordination, even though they thought repeatedly that they did.
She's donating this money to a PAC that she knows are going to benefit her, and she's saying, I don't know what they're going to do with this money.
It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what your gut says. It matters what you can prove, what is in black and white on a piece of paper, and that is essentially the issue here at the end of the day.
Not what you know, it's what you can prove at it.
What's sad is we're in the last week of the campaign, and not once are we talking about a single issue.
National security, immigration,
education. Are you really ever surprised about that in the last week of a campaign anymore? I mean, these can't...
I guess I still hope.
But campaigns are now, but they're full of people and consultants that get paid to sling this mud in the last week.
Okay, well, obviously, too, I also want to talk to you, too. Now, you've just said that you don't think Montenegro is going to win. Anybody else have a chance to kind of move up and really challenge Lesko right now is kind of the perceived favorite? What about a Phil Lovis, the one who's making his allegations?
Absolutely. And I think the race, everybody tries to decide who the winner is in advance. All three of those candidates are in the mix. And election day, there's going to be a high election day turnout. In fact, I believe what we'll see at the end of this, which will be a story in itself, is that the turnout in this special election will be higher than the turnout actually was in the same primary in 16. And that's a story in itself, because that's tough to do in a special election.
It is.
All right, now also, I do got to hit this one issue we teased there in the last bump, at the Capitol last week. We did see some major movement on a bill that people are watching. Now, we're talking about a bill, medical marijuana. Now, this bill would actually say this weed has to be tested before it can be sold. It's not currently tested right now. Now, that bill passed out of the Senate.
Who gets that job?
So why has this been such a hotly contested bill, Marcus?
Well, there actually is a medical reason for it, and there's a personal story that was told out the legislature that's moving, and that is a mother who's got a child that needs medical marijuana. However, because of his condition, his disease, it has to be tested for bacteria so that it's healthy enough for him to eat. He can't have any foreign substance, bacteria enter his system, and so that's the issue that this is targeted towards, giving his family relief that the marijuana can be tested.
This issue again, we're dancing around what's a much larger issue, which is really a discussion about whether ultimately this drug is legalized, not legalized, and what's the access and the regulation of it.
All right, well, that's all the time we have tonight, but be sure to join us next week for more Politics Unplugged. Good night.